You ever dream of sailing away without emptying your bank account? Just you, the breeze, and a boat you can actually live on? Well, let me tell you, it's not some far-off fantasy. I've spent years hopping from one harbor to the next, swapping stories over dock beers and poking my head into every kind of sailboat you can imagine. And let me tell you, there are boats out there, good ones, that won't break the bank and can still give you a real home on the water. In this video, I'm walking you through 10 cheap sailboats you can actually live on. These aren't just weekend toys or floating closets, they're boats I've seen out there doing the miles, boats with character and enough creature comforts to make life afloat feel pretty damn good. Whether you're planning a coastal cruise, setting up a floating cabin, or just itching to downsize your life and drift a little freer, this list's for you. Let's dive in. The Morgan Out Island 33 is a boat that often gets a bad rap for its sailing performance. But hear me out. If your main priority is living aboard in comfort, this boat might be exactly what you need. Designed with the Liveaboard cruiser in mind, it's got a full-bodied hull and a beam that feels generous even by today's standards. The center cockpit layout gives you better visibility and creates room for a private aft cabin, something you won't find on many boats in this price range. The salon is wide and inviting. The galley is usable even underway, and the head actually feels like a real bathroom. Is it fast? Nope, but it's stable, forgiving, and easy to handle, even with just 2 people aboard. This is the kind of boat you'd want for island hopping in the Bahamas or living aboard at a dock in Florida. It's comfortable, tough, and built to take a few knocks without complaint. These boats are also remarkably affordable for what they offer. You can often find a Morgan Out Island 33 in decent shape for around $14,000. For the right sailor, that's a whole lot of floating home for not much money. If you're looking for a sailboat that's simple, honest, and easy to sail, the Pearson 30 should be on your radar. This boat came out of the boom years of American boat building in the 1970s, and it shows. It's got clean lines, a practical layout, and no-nonsense construction. The tiller's steering gives you an instant feel for how the boat responds, and the hull shape keeps it moving nicely even in light air. It's no blue water tank, but for coastal cruising or life on a mooring, it's more than enough. Down below, it's cozy but functional. There's a V-berth forward, a small but workable galley, and a main salon that doesn't feel claustrophobic. For a solo sailor or a couple living simply, it's a great fit. Storage is surprisingly decent, and you'll find a lot of owners have upgraded their boats with solar panels and modern electronics. You can often pick up a Pearson 30 for around $8,500, making it one of the most affordable liveaboard options out there. It's not flashy, but it's dependable, easy to maintain, and has a loyal following among folks who'd rather sail than tinker. The Catalina 30 is probably one of the most recognized sailboats in American waters, and for good reason. With over 6,000 built, they're absolutely everywhere, and that means parts are easy to find. Online forums are full of helpful advice, and prices stay reasonable. It's a perfect boat for someone who wants to jump into the liveaboard lifestyle without having to reinvent the wheel. The interior is surprisingly spacious thanks to a wide beam carried well aft. You get a large salon, an L-shaped galley, a roomy quarter berth, and a real sit-down nav station. Luxuries on a 30-foot boat. She sails well enough for coastal cruising and club racing, and her forgiving nature makes her a good pick for newer sailors. Maintenance is straightforward, and you'll find tons of aftermarket upgrades on the market. It's not a flashy boat, but it's a smart one. This is a boat that gets the job done and still lets you enjoy a beer in the cockpit with friends. You'll find a decent Catalina 30 floating around in the used market for about $17,000, which is a small price to pay for a proven liveaboard platform with real cruising potential. The Lancer 30 doesn't show up on every sailor's radar, but for those in the know, it's a quiet contender in the budget liveaboard world. Built in the late 70s and early 80s, these boats often came as motor sailors, giving you that extra flexibility if you're doing a lot of motoring in calm waters. They're a bit of a hybrid, not a performance sailboat, and not a true trawler either, but they strike a good balance for folks who want a liveaboard that's easy to move and not too pricey to maintain. The interior is straightforward and surprisingly roomy, with a layout that's great for a solo sailor or a couple. There's standing headroom for most, decent storage, and enough tankage to make living aboard practical. They don't have the cult following of a Catalina or Pearson, but that can actually work in your favor when it comes to price. These boats often fly under the radar, which keeps costs low. You can usually find a Lancer 30 for around $9,500, which is a steal for a boat with decent accommodations and solid fiberglass under your feet. It's an underrated option worth a serious look. The CNC 36 blends performance and livability in a way that's hard to find on the cheap end of the sailing spectrum. Known for their sleek lines and fast hulls, CNCs were built for sailors who wanted to get somewhere without without sacrificing comfort along the way. The 36-footer is a sweet spot. It's big enough to live on without feeling cramped, but not so large that you're buried in marina fees or repair costs. Below decks, it's cozy but thoughtfully designed. The galley is well laid out, the salon feels open thanks to clever use of wood and light, and the quarter berth is a favorite nap spot for many an owner. She sails beautifully, with a fine entry and a well-balanced helm. You don't have to wrestle with her, and she'll take care of you in a blow. For someone wanting to cruise a bit more ambitiously, maybe down the coast or across to the islands, this boat's a great candidate. You'll see solid examples of the CNC 36 selling for around $20,000. It's more than the entry-level cruisers, but you get a big jump in sailing performance and offshore potential. The Westsail 32 is one of those boats that's earned near mythical status among long-distance cruisers. Heavy, slow, and built like a tank, this boat is the poster child for the "go small, go now" philosophy. You'll hear people say, "She'll take care of you in a storm," and that's not just a salty romanticism. With a full keel, beefy rigging, and a solid fiberglass hull, the Westsail 32 is about as close to bulletproof as it gets in a production boat. Inside, she's tight but efficient. Most layouts include a cozy V-berth, a compact head, and a main salon with a wood stove or kerosene heater, perfect for colder climates. Storage is generous, which is key if you're planning to cruise for months at a time. She's not a marina showpiece and you won't win any speed races, but if you want to cross oceans or just know your boat can handle anything, this one's worth a serious look. You'll find Westsail 32s all over the world, many of them still going strong after decades of use. A solid example with good gear will run you about $20,500, and that's a fair price for peace of mind in heavy weather. The Hunter 30 is a cruiser that's had its fair share of debate in sailing circles, but here's the truth. It's a comfortable, capable liveaboard that won't drain your wallet. Introduced in the mid-70s and produced well into the 1980s, this boat was built with weekenders and casual cruisers in mind, but plenty of folks have made them into full-time floating homes. Down below, the Hunter 30 makes good use of space. There's a roomy V-berth, a decent-sized salon with an actual dining table, and a galley that works well for daily living. The head is basic but functional, and you'll even find standing headroom in most of the cabin. She sails fine, not a rocket but steady and manageable, especially if you're sailing short-handed. Some owners complain about build quality on later models, but the earlier versions tend to be more solid. You'll often see these boats fitted out with wind generators, solar, and upgraded rigs. If you're looking for a liveaboard under 35 feet with decent interior volume, this one's worth a look. You can usually find a well-kept Hunter 30 for about $13,000, which makes it a popular entry point for new cruisers. The Islander 36 is one of those boats that hits a sweet spot between comfort, capability, and classic styling. Built during the golden age of fiberglass sailboats, she's got a long track record of coastal and offshore cruising. Many owners have crossed oceans in these boats, but plenty more just enjoy the spacious interior and balanced sailing characteristics. The cockpit is roomy, with good visibility and safe coamings. Down below, you'll find a layout that makes long-term living totally doable. Plenty of headroom, a roomy galley, generous salon space, and a V-berth that doesn't feel like a coffin. There's also a solid nav station, which comes in handy if you're planning to cruise longer distances. These boats sail well, with a bit more pep than your average heavy cruiser, but enough displacement to feel safe when the breeze picks up. Parts are generally available, and there's a strong owners community out there to help with upgrades and fixes. For the space and seaworthiness you get, it's a great deal. Most decent Islander 36s on the market fall around $18,900, putting it right in that sweet spot for cruisers on a modest budget. The Albin Vega 27 might be small on paper, but she punches way above her weight class. This Swedish-built boat is famous for its durability and seaworthiness, enough that multiple Vegas have completed solo circumnavigations. With a narrow beam and simple rig, she's incredibly efficient to sail and surprisingly stable in heavy weather. The cockpit is tight but secure, and the tiller steering makes her responsive and easy to control. Down below, it's all about making the most of limited space. You've got a V-berth forward, a couple of settees in the salon, a tiny galley, and a small head tucked in near the companionway. It's Spartan, but livable, especially for a minimalist or solo cruiser. She's easy to trailer, easy to maintain, and with a draft under 4 feet, you can poke into skinny water that bigger boats can't touch. The Albin Vega community is strong. with lots of shared resources and advice floating around online. If you're serious about sailing but not ready to shell out for a floating apartment, this boat might be your best bet. A solid Vega in cruising shape typically goes for around $9,000, which is incredible value for what she can do. The Columbia 34 Mark II is a bit of a sleeper hit. It's not as well known as some of the other classics, but for those who've owned one, it's a favorite. Built with thick fiberglass and roomy interiors, this boat makes an excellent liveaboard or coastal cruiser. She's got a long, graceful sheer and a solid hull that's been known to handle some serious weather. Below decks, the space is generous for a 34-footer. You've got a full galley, plenty of seating, a V-berth that's actually comfortable, and a head that doesn't feel like a closet. The layout is traditional but spacious, and there's room to stretch out, even for two people living aboard full-time. Under sail, she moves with purpose, balanced, steady, and capable of covering miles without beating you up. There's nothing flashy about her, but there's something comforting in the solid feel of her build and the simple, reliable systems. For someone who wants an affordable liveaboard with enough muscle for the occasional offshore run, the Columbia 34 Mark II fits the bill. You'll generally find them listed at about $16,000, making them one of the better-kept secrets in the used sailboat world. So there you have it, 10 solid sailboats you can actually live on without selling a kidney. These boats aren't showroom queens or flashy yachts made for sipping cocktails in Monaco. They're the kind of boats you find anchored off a quiet cove, maybe with a hammock strung up in the rigging and a little solar panel humming away. Boats with stories, scars, and charm. I've seen people sail the world in a beat-up Westsail 32, live happily on a humble Pearson 30, and rebuild their lives on the deck of a tired old Hunter 30 that just needed someone to care for it. The truth is, you don't need a $1 million yacht to live the dream. You just need a boat that floats, sails, and makes you feel at home when you climb aboard. If you're serious about chasing this life, start poking around marinas, talking to owners, and walking through boats. The right one might not be pretty at first glance, but she'll feel right. That's what matters. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this list, or you've got your own boat you think should have made the cut, drop it in the comments. Until next time, fair winds and following seas.